This is Mike and Shaun back with Talking Tickets. We're talking about the crazy auctions that happened over the weekend. Jordan debut for $280,000. Is this bubble 2.0? Let's find out. All right, Shaun.
What's up, Mike? How was your vacation?
Oh, Toronto was good and saw a couple Rangers games. They split the ones we saw, kind of bounced around up north and went to the Oasis concert Sunday nights. And I was keeping an eye on those auctions over the weekend. I know it was kind of crazy, but man, all I kept thinking about is, man, I want to know Shaun's thoughts on all this because I was blown away what I saw.
Were you trying to buy anything?
Well, I was interested.
I know you need one of those Jordan Reds.
So, if those that don't know, Heritage had a massive auction over the weekend, and the big items in the auction were a Jordan Red debut, and they had two, PSA 8 and a PSA 6. And they also have three more in the pipeline. They have another 8 and 2 4s that will be coming up for sale.
They have two more 4s? I thought
that's what it shows, one, and then it shows another one in the pipeline. And rumor was that 2 more Reds got graded at the National. So maybe that's one of those that got graded at the National. But for those that don't know, if you're not in the ticket world, I mean, if you're in the ticket world, you know that this Big Daddy went for $280,000, $280,600. The highest graded Jordan debut, the nicest one. There's another 8 out there. So, Shaun, thoughts?
Yeah. Well, going back to when they kind of announced that they found these, remember that? And we were talking about, well, how are they going to sell them? Are they going to sell them all together or in the same auction or spread them out? And how would they do this? And I think the way that they did it on this one was perfect, where the high grade one went first and then the PSA 6 went the next day, because the high grade one went crazy, of course. But then everybody was kind of like, or the big players who were interested in it weren't sure if, well, should they wait for the next 8 because it could be even higher, or should they just get this one because it's really nice? And so it drove that price up too with the 6, which was way more than I thought it would be. But yeah, interesting the way it went. And looking at them closely, if you kind of use the zoom in function, that they don't look a lot different. Just by eyeballing them, I can't tell the difference between the 8 and the 6. I think both of them look really nice. So if what PSA says doesn't mean a whole lot to you, then I would, the 6 is just as appealing. I don't know if you had a chance to look at them, but that's kind of the way I thought about it going into it, thinking that, well, the 6 is almost as good. And then you fast forward ahead to the next ones. And I bet that the PSA 8, now that this one got so much publicity, exceeds 300,000. What do you think?
Well, I don't know what to think, because going into this, I thought this 8 would be 150, maybe 200 tops, and it going for 280 blew me away. And I thought the 6 was like in 100 to 50 ticket. I mean, 150 I thought would be crazy. I thought more about 100.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of speechless.
I kind of thought that the 8 might get to 250, and the reason why was because there's a lot of collectors out there who are Jordan people who aren't necessarily ticket collectors, who want the best of the best and are willing to pay for it. And so it only takes a couple of those to go after this. And everybody knows cards and how the grading system works and how important it is with cards. So a lot of those people see this and say, you'll never see a higher graded Jordan debut. So this is it. This is the opportunity to have the best of the best. And so it only takes a couple people with deep pockets who are Jordan, fans that will drive it way up. So that one didn't. The 6 kind of surprised me, because that's not necessarily the best, but it is. But if you look at it, it is. It's every bit as good as the 8, I think. So
So I guess what's going on in the ticket world now with these high end tickets? Because that wasn't the only one. You're getting seeing stuff like this. I know I'm sure you saw this, that
yeah,
Tiger Woods signed debut when he was 16. Supposedly the guy sent it off to him, and when he was around 16 after the tournament, and he signed it and wrote 16 years. I mean, this went for 85,000. This is probably about a 15-20K ticket, and now it's 85K, because it's the dated signature with the little
yeah, yeah.
description. Just you're seeing these super rare, unique tickets, low pop with iconic players going for insane amounts.
Yeah, this one though, it's the period autograph. I think it's hard to it's hard to guess how that impacted the value. Because especially since he was only 16. Here's a teenager, a 16-year-old signing this.
Right.
That's it's a very unique item, so it's hard to use that as kind of a gauge for where the market is because it's so unique. But yeah, definitely people willing to pay for it. So the ticket by itself is pretty rare. I think there's maybe 20 to 25 of them in the pop.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's pretty amazing. Full ticket with a period signature on it.
Yeah, it's a really cool ticket. I mean, of course, one you're interested in, but it's just these numbers get crazy. On a side note, I've kind of noticed things like the very first appearance. Like there's the good example of the Wayne Gretzky debut ticket. There's the NHL debut, but there's also his professional debut, which was I can't remember the name of the league. It was Indiana
WHL.
Racers. And that seems to be the more popular one, just like this one's the more popular one than his professional debut in Milwaukee. So it seems like the very first instance where you see the athlete is the more popular ticket. This is a little rare. That has, something to do with it too. But I mean, is this a trend you think for all tickets? Are we just talking about the best of the best tickets?
I think right now it's probably the best of the best, but it's probably a rising tide situation, just like it was before. I mean, we've been through this before. We've talked about this on the show. You can go back to the old shows and before the original bubble. What was that, like 2021 or 2020
Yeah, I think
maybe?
it ran from about late 2020 to mid 2022.
Yeah,
That's why I mentioned Bubble 2.0, because the first one was a bubble for a lot of expensive tickets and even some of the middle lower tickets. And then things eventually came back down to earth and we found our, correct price range. But
yeah.
is this Bubble 2.0 or is this, I mean, what are your
Just
thoughts?
well, I was talking to a prominent vintage card collector, and he made the point that compared to vintage cards, tickets are a bargain because if you compare, just take a look at something like a Mantle debut versus a Mickey Mantle rookie card. There's it's a fraction of the cost. It's expensive, say 30,000 or something. It's a fraction of the cost of a 52 Mantle. And you throw in the fact that there's only 20 to 25 of them in the pop report. There's a lot of appeal there for vintage card collectors who are being priced out or just tired of the extremely high prices of vintage cards. So maybe it has to do with that. The prices of vintage cards are such that there's not a lot of room for investment opportunities, or at least unless you're extremely high end, but that's pricing a lot of people out. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. It's not the economy. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think everything's gone up. The game use stuff,
Yeah.
cards, of course, uh, type ones have gone insane. So it's kind of that same trend as 3 years ago where everything is going up. Now, granted, I don't think it's everything as in low end, middle end, high end. This
Hmm.
times it just seems to be all the super high end is just going through the roof. And we've talked about it before. We've each talked to one, like 2, 3, 4, 5 new collectors with big money that are basically like, I want the top 20 tickets, or I want the best. And I guess that's what we're seeing. And, a lot of this I think also has to do with stocks at all-time high, crypto still high.
Yeah.
Obviously the Fed's gonna keep printing money. They're gonna keep taking on debt. The value of your dollar is probably gonna keep going down, and people are just wanting some more hard assets, and collectibles are a great inflation hedge. If people feel like, you know what, I don't feel that great in the stock market right now, and I'm super rich, so I feel like I'd rather put my money somewhere else. Well, collectibles are an option, an alternative asset, and it's fun. So instead of dropping another $500,000 in the S&P 500, they may just be like, you know what, let me just put some money. Let's go buy the best ticket out there, because it's a fraction of, the best tickets, the best cards in the world are worth what, $5 to $15 million.
Yeah.
And the best tickets in the world are worth, 200 to 700, 200 to 500. And type one's the same thing. The best type one's worth what? $500,000 to up to $1 million. I mean, what other I don't know what Pokemon's doing. I know Pokemon's been going crazy on, just like everything.
Yeah.
So you can say like, oh, tickets are going crazy, the high end tickets. Well, no, like everything. So we're back. It is very eerie to the 21, 22 era, but I don't feel like there's all this, leverage, insane debt people are still borrowing to buy like it was back then. Like they could get, 50% credit on their cards used by other cars.
Or
It
the
was crazy
fractional,
right?
the fractional
All
credit.
that stuff. It's not like that anymore. So that's kind of the other aspect to it.
Yeah, I think that we could probably hold off on calling it a bubble until you see the low end tickets like go crazy suddenly. That was when I thought this is just weird. When you saw a ticket that for years cost, $400 or $500, all of a sudden it's selling for 2,000 or something. That was when I was just, there's something odd about this, because it just has never been that way. And so you know, the high end stuff that will always be strong, I think, and sometimes stronger than others. But um, you know, pay closer attention to what the $1,000 tickets are doing, or the $500 tickets are doing, and the ones that you can kind of find whenever you want to. You can find them on eBay. They pop up regularly. If those start to go up significantly in price and sale price, then it's a bubble.
Yeah, and I don't think we've seen that. We can kind of look at some other items in that auction. Um, this was really cool. If I wasn't as lazy and I may try to break down like, okay, what is this? What do I feel like this is worth? Because this is amazing. I mean, it's
It
the
is.
Super Bowl MVP run, signed full tickets run of 55. I mean, fulls signed, and
Every single one is signed. That's crazy. Yeah.
And if you go through it, like the signatures are the majority of them are really look great, like in really great places. The ones, obviously you can't get them all perfect, but it's just so nice. And whoever put it together, obviously, basically, I mean, it was a huge passion play for them. And, I don't know why they decided to sell, but that was super cool. This one, I know you've talked about this one before. This is the game 8 of the 1919 World Series. I mean, that was a 58.5. I mean, those in the past have been going for how much?
Well, I think around 40. So it didn't go for a whole lot more than what it's gone for in the past. I just think that it's not widely appreciated the way it should be, or the way it is with the kind of the hardcore ticket collectors, because game 8 is, in my view, the most desirable game. The hype around game 1 has caused it to go up dramatically. I think Darren Ravel hyped that thing up a lot, but this one is the rarest one, or probably the rarest one, and definitely the most desirable, especially in this condition, because the other ones are in really bad shape. So yeah,
It's awesome.
I thought that was actually a good deal.
And I feel like there's a good amount of collectors out there that want to collect. It's such a cool thing to collect. I'll try to collect all 8, but man, you
Yeah.
better have some deep pockets because number 8, I think it's
Yeah.
less than 10 pop.
Yeah.
And
I think it was 6. I looked it up recently. It was 6. So
this one was interesting. So this was Babe Ruth's first home run, Yankee Stadium inaugural game, went for 47.5.
yeah.
And there's another one that went at Weiss Auctions that you could argue is just as nice.
Well, I
Granted,
think it was way better. This one, the one at Weiss auction didn't have any paper loss on the back. And this one has considerable paper loss on the back. So the one at Weiss auction was, if you watched Howard's, maybe you missed it because you were on vacation, but Tom Daly was on it and he announced that he won that one at Weiss auction. So he got a really great deal with that. Congratulations to Tom.
Because yeah, and that's kind of shows you, I mean, kind of the fun of collecting tickets because you can still find great value if you search hard enough on some of these alternate auction houses or eBay or other locations.
And that one, the Weiss auction one, was a live auction. It's one of those annoying live auctions where you have to wait for the lot to come up. And it was middle of the day on a weekday. And I knew about it and I was planning on, at least paying attention to it because if it didn't go for a huge amount, I would have put a bid on it. But I forgot about it completely because it was the middle of the day on a weekday.
Right.
And, you're doing stuff, you're working.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know why they continue to, but hey, if
that's the difference.
It's pretty awesome. Congratulations, Tom, because it's pretty cool to buy a ticket and then see it sell for about a week later for twice as much.
Yeah. In worse condition.
The auto Jordan shot 43K. It's crazy. The guy's still alive, and there's so many of these tickets out there. It's just, it's amazing. But I guess he's probably never going to really do a signing. So, oh man, it's nuts. All the Yankees, 36.6. All the champions, 30K for Koufax full.
Yeah, that was a big number for that one.
And going through this, I don't think I will ever give another auction house a big ticket again. I think I will always use Heritage because the proof's in the pudding. You get monster numbers more often than not, I believe, than any other auction house when it comes to tickets with Heritage. It just is what it is.
I would agree. I mean, it's amazing the results they get compared to other auction houses. And it's not that other auction houses don't get good results. It's just a lot more kind of touch and go. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But Heritage is almost always strong, at least compared to the market.
Beatles debut. There's another one of these out there that's kind of been around that number. So, that one didn't go and it's went for a lot, but it was been ballpark from other ones. Bird debut 25 is pretty strong. Not a great tickets. This is a great ticket, but I don't know. I was interested, but not at 25K. I mean, it's another one that's super. It's a full. I think it's the only full out there.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
This
even the stubs, there's only a handful of those with a full.
A super rare Ali ticket went for 16.4. I assume it's super rare. Only one of 4. The 1919 game 1. I think that's kind of the ballpark.
Yeah.
This went for a lot, I guess, because it was the highest. These usually go. I had a 7. I mean, on eBay for like 2,500, and I couldn't sell it. And a 9, it is the highest. Went for 11.8. I thought that was insanely high. Koufax first career no hitter. Anything of these that one of your Griffey debuts, 8.5, a stub autoed?
The Griffey debut I thought was kind of low, and I wonder if it was because both of the audit stubs are missing, which makes it a smaller ticket. Maybe it's less desirable that way, but in the past, this one's been selling for 15,000. I think there was a raw Griffey debut that sold at Golden for like 13,000. Or
Yeah, and so
not raw, but unsigned.
We talked about kind of puts things in perspective. Not everything's going crazy, but this one was surprising. Yes, it's the highest stub, so that does count for something, but it was 8,200 for the Immaculate.
Yeah.
I would have said it. would have went
How
for like half
how
that.
often do you see this one with the entire Pittsburgh Steelers logo?
You can find
The
them with the logo. It's
with
not
the
that
entire
hard.
logo?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I may have one. Usually they can be found. I think I have one with the full
yeah,
logo.
yeah.
But
It's
I
a
guess
high
they usually are
price.
like 2 or 3. So that was kind of surprised. This is a really cool ticket. This is one if you're a Sandberg collector or you love Sandberg, love the Cubs. I thought this was an awesome ticket, and that's why, you know, it went for
$8,000 though. That's I don't know. I'm not a Sandberg guy and I'm not a Cubs guy, and I've never really understood why this game is so big. Um, but I just if I didn't know anything else and I was looking at that and I would think, oh yeah, that's an $800 ticket. But $8,000?
well, it's the only graded one. It's right after his death. It's a full. It looks really cool. I think all that played
Yeah.
into it. And Heritage, which man, it was things were hot in this auction. And
Yeah.
David has a good question. He goes, "Do you think there are more eyes on the Heritage auctions post national compared to if the same tickets went to auction 3 to 4 months ago?"
I think that's how they plan it. That's why the August auction is always the big one for them, and it works. And it might be just that they have the big ticket, so it gets more eyeballs versus the national. But most of the people who are bidding on these, who are you know in the high end range, they're at the national. They get a chance to see them in person. I've seen it. I've seen those players viewing the stuff up close and making their judgments on it, and I think that is important.
And I think you get good buzz if it's a really good national, which I think it was. People are like feel more confident, feel stronger, more excited about the hobby, more confident in their purchase. And if people
Yeah,
went to the nationals, like man, it was a dud. Nobody was spending money. The dealer said it sucked. I think the mentality changes, but when everybody left the national, everybody was like, man, that was amazing. It was people were spending money like crazy. The tickets were hot. So you go in thinking, oh, feel more confident about my purchase. Even this has been going for like 3 or 4 ish, and now it went for
mhm.
7. Just this. Look at this. That thing is basically cut off with scissors. Went for 6,400. That's the Ali Foreman Rumble in the Jungle, or yeah, the Rumble in the Jungle. But but then other ones, this I think was kind of a normal price, like 5K for the Thrill in
That's it.
Manila, kind of beat up. With a little staining on the front.
Yeah.
But overall, this Heritage auction was strong. I mean, like so strong you almost worry we're in a bubble again. And that's why I kind of wanted to focus on it more than we may have in the past for other auctions. Just made a good point on that, Jordan. It is the red variant, but still, it was a strong price for that Jordan. But I don't know. Any other thoughts just kind of about summarizing, some of these crazy prices or just where we're at
I'm
in the
really
hobby?
interested to see how the next PSA 8 goes. What do you think that'll go for?
Well, I mean, you're saying like 300. I would say less, but I don't really take my judgment because I was
Yeah,
way off on the last auction.
yeah. I don't know the winner of that one. The guy, he's a big card collector. More,
Oh yeah, I pulled up his Instagram
Mhm.
post. He basically said his OTIA Sports cool PC pickup for my ticket collection.
Yeah,
And then he, put the little party in. But yeah, like you're saying, he's a huge collector of everything. And he's
yeah.
I would say almost more investor than collector. So this was a very interesting post, saying my cool PC pickup. So I don't know. What are your
I
thoughts on
I
that?
I just feel like with Jordan specifically, it appeals to such a larger audience than just ticket collectors. So if the market was just ticket collectors, then I think you're right. The next one almost always sells for less than the first one. that's
Mhm.
true. But in this case, it's like there's a lot of people who have FOMO now who are looking at that sale and seeing all the hype that it got, and then they're, if as long as they have the funds, they're going to see it as, I need this, I want this. So it could go. I could see it go for 350
Oh, it's crazy.
because it's not just ticket collectors; it's Jordan collectors, and Jordan collectors out there are insane.
Right, and they're
There's
card
no,
collectors too.
yeah, and so yeah, the point that it gets kind of wacky is when it gets to a point where it goes for more than Jackie Robinson debut, because then you're kind of looking at, well, what's more important. But I guess it just depends on what they're into.
Yeah, can't argue with that. Well, I guess the second half of this one, I kind of wanted to talk about, I guess, the ethics of collecting, buying, and selling tickets, because tickets are a whole nother animal. And when you're a dealer, you really realize how different it is from, say, the card market. When you're a dealer at a show and you're going to buy or sell cards, it's comps, 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 comps. What's the comp? I want to buy this. The comp says this. You like want to blow your brains out. You hear the word comp so much. Like, I don't deal with it, but I share tables with guys, and that's all you hear. And people who come up to your table know the price of the card they're trying to sell to you or what you're selling 99.999% of the time, except unless it's something really unique that there really aren't any comps, but there's almost always comps for cards because there's so many cards made. Tickets, on the other hand, is totally different. When I'm a dealer, I would say easily over half the time, people come up to me with their tickets and say, I want to sell this. And I may say, well, what do you want for it? I don't know. What is it worth? So we can play both sides of this. When you're a dealer and those people come up to you, what is, I guess, what would you expect a dealer to say to that person when they say, what is this worth? And then what would you expect to pay that person? I guess, well, I mean, I kind of just want to know what your thoughts on that side of it.
It's a good question. If I was a dealer, and I'm not, I would probably give them a rough range of what I thought it might be worth. And
Right.
then if I'm looking to buy it, I would offer them probably 65 to 70% of that. Just because, obviously you need to make money on it. So when you're giving them the rough range of what you think it's worth, it's more like, what do you think you can sell it for
Mhm.
as a dealer in your environment? So that price could be dramatically different in depending on the scenario. But if you're confident that you can sell it for $1,000, then I would probably say it's worth $800 to $1,000, and I would offer you 600.
What if somebody comes up with $1,000 ticket and they say, I want to sell this to you. And I go, how much do you want? And they say $200.
Yeah, then I would say yes. Here's your $200. Why? I mean, I think it goes back to you. You don't. You don't. You can't expect everybody to be fully educated on everything, and it's not your job to do that.
Right.
Your job is there to run your booth as a dealer. And if somebody comes in and they have a proposal for you and it's good, then accept it, and you know, don't go any further than that. But yeah, I guess it does come to a time when that does reach an ethical boundary, because I know the next question you're going to say is, well, what about, what
Tom
if
says
what if they
you
want $5 for it and it's $1,000 ticket?
Tom says you say, would you take 175? What
Yeah.
about, what if it's something ridiculous? Like they come up with a $10,000 ticket and they're like, I want $100 for this. I don't know
Yeah.
what it's worth. Give me
Yeah, or
$100.
$20, something like that. Yeah, I guess it depends on the person. I mean, I personally would probably, correct them and let them know that worth a lot more, and they should probably take it to an auction house or something like that. I don't
Yeah.
think that it's not. I guess it comes down to your own personal values, because like, would you be able to live with yourself knowing that you did that? And a lot of people can, so no problem. But I don't think I could.
Just said you should ask if they have two of them. Comments are on
Definitely
fire
ask if you have two
tonight.
of them. Don't ever not do that.
So flip it around though, because this came up on the last show. There were some interesting comments, and you were there firsthand for this situation. A dealer has a ticket that's worth $2,000, and you ask him how much he wants for it, and he says 200.
Yeah, I think that that's completely different because the assumption. Okay, so you go into it, and the dealer's goal is to get as much money as they possibly can for their item, right? Their goal is to get you to pay as much as they can, and nothing other, right? Isn't that your goal? You're that's what you want to do. And so to find somebody who's willing to pay for it. And so why shouldn't your goal as the consumer be the same, to pay as little as you possibly can for something?
I don't disagree.
And so, yeah, I mean, it really is different when it's a dealer versus just a customer, I guess. But even so, there's no scenario at all where I would tell a dealer that, unless it was somebody like Mark Townsend, who I know personally, and like I would tell him if he had something. That's a different scenario because it's more of like a personal relationship than
Right.
just a transactional relationship. If it's strictly transactional, then your goal is to get the item for as low as you possibly can, and just like their goal is to sell it for as much as they possibly can.
So no matter what, it's 2,200. You still haggle whatever you can get out of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why would you do nothing else?
It's capitalism. Like,
Yeah, it is. It's the game. It's the game everyone's playing. Everybody in that building is playing that game. And so why should you not?
just as how many people on eBay pay people extra for tickets priced too low?
Yeah.
They have a
And
price.
that happens all the time. That's a good point. And
Good
we've all
point.
done it. We've all bought great deals on eBay, discovered that you found something in a lot, and you never send money back to the person.
Right. You find something amazing in a lot. You don't say, hey, that lot I bought from you for $50 was worth $5,000.
Here, let me
You don't
split
cut
it
them
with
a check.
you.
Okay,
Yeah.
what about this one? Somebody prices something on eBay too low. It sells. Somebody comes in later after the sale, immediately contacts the seller and says, hey, you sold this for too low. I want to pay you more. Cancel your sale and I'll make it worth your while.
Yeah, that's definitely unethical.
So definitely unethical.
Yeah, because I mean, it's at least I would never do it. I wouldn't say that it's crosses the line of well, I would never want to associate with anybody who does that. And if I was selling something on eBay and somebody tried to do that, I wouldn't do it. And I know a lot of eBay sellers refuse to do that, even because of the ethical line that it crosses.
Right.
Um, and I've had that happen. I've had people attempt to do that to sales that I got, and the seller reached out to me and told me that, but said that he's still going to sell it to me. So you know that happens. And by the way, I've also seen that happen where the seller revealed who it was that made the offer. And so in some cases, I know who is doing this out there. You know who you are if you watch this. And I did have this one situation. There was a situation where I did send somebody money after the fact, even though I didn't need to, because it was a few years ago, and it was a Adrian Beltre debut in a lot, and there was two of them, and I reached out to the guy. This was years ago, probably 5 years ago, and I reached out to the guy and made him an offer of like $500 for it, which that was way lower than what those were worth. I think at the time they had sold for around 1,000, 1,500 each. And so then the guy reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I had a bunch of people contact me, and apparently this is worth a lot more, but I'm still going to sell it to you because it's just the right thing to do." And so I said to him, "Include your contact information in the package, and I'll send you, another $500 when I get it." And I did.
Very nice.
so so that is a situation where I did send money back. But he did the right thing, so I wanted to make it right for him. And I
Yeah.
still had a good deal, so it worked out.
Well, what about this? The answer says just don't talk about community when we rip some dealer off and then brag about it on social media. Keep it to yourself and move on. We all do it except for the telling the world about it part.
Yeah, I guess that's the drawback of having a show. Maybe we should just do the show and just be silent, not talk about anything.
Well, is that
But then they would probably criticize that too.
are you ripping a dealer off though? Is it possible to rip a dealer off? Because he is a dealer who is basically a quasi professional seller.
Yeah, the only way to rip a dealer off is to actually steal from them because they agreed to sell it. It's a transaction that they agreed to. You agreed to it. So how's that ripping anyone off?
Fair point.
There's no
I
set
guess
prices.
a more rip off would be, somebody comes up to you with a $10,000 ticket, asks you what it's worth. You tell them it's worth $500 and that's what I'll pay you. And you pay them $500. I feel like that's more of a rip off than
that is. But even in that case, they should do their due diligence and ask more people than just you.
And you would be shocked how many people, mainly at like the national, will come up to me and be like, I want to sell this. I have no idea what it's like. They have no idea, no concept whatsoever what it's worth. They put zero research in.
Yeah.
They just show up and say, here, I have these tickets.
Yeah.
What is it worth? Buy it from me.
Because as we know, a lot of people have tickets and they have zero value to them. They're just taking up room, taking up space. And they're shocked when they find out they have considerable value. So whatever it is that they can get for them, they're happy with
it. Tom Boehm said, had a ticket show up from eBay that I ordered 6 weeks ago, was assumed lost. I was refunded. I contacted the seller, let him know it finally showed up and paid him. So basically, I'm going to heaven now.
I'll see you there, Tom.
But no, I like playing these little games because it's so interesting on the dealer side of the table, seeing that and then people arguing what's wrong, what's right. And then when the disparity can be so large between what people have and what they think it may be worth and what it really is worth. And it's just like I said, it's just kind of the pros and cons of capitalism. Like some people there's winners and there's losers. And
and it seems like it's especially pronounced in the ticket world because there's so little information or limited information about what something is worth. And a lot of people just don't know. So you run into that kind of scenario quite a bit versus cards where everything's pretty well established.
Yeah. And people do have varying ideas on, that's BS, that's wrong. You need to give them more fair market. And other people are like BS. That's the price they put on it. That's what they want. You give them what they want. It's a done deal. But
yeah. And I think that a lot of it's going to come down to your reputation. And if you're a dealer in tickets, you better care about your reputation because it's a small world and everybody talks and everybody knows everyone. And so if your reputation is tainted because you're, trying to rip people off all the time, then that'll come back to bite you anyway.
Right.
It'll correct itself.
David says, I bought 2 tickets to the National for $25 each. I felt they were worth way more. I handed the dealer $50 and was ready to walk away. And he said, I'll get you change. He was expecting me to ask for a deal. Interesting.
Yeah. Good dealer.
So, yeah. So I feel like we need something we all need to get off of our chest about the ethics.
Yeah. I think we all know that the ethical makeup of all of dealers at the National vary widely. There's many are really good people who are going to do right by everyone, and then there's some that aren't. and you just have to be aware.
Just says if something sells on eBay fair and square and you contact them and offer more and screw over another collector, that's the lowest of lows.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I'm not that extreme. I almost kind of see where it's like, well, this person didn't sell it for what it's worth and somebody's willing to pay more, but a sale, if you have an official transaction sale on eBay, I guess that should be honored.
Well, let's say it was live. Let's say you were at a show and you found a deal that you really wanted and you handed the dealer money and they accepted your offer, and then somebody else walks up next to you and says, "Hey, I want that and I'll pay you more for it." How would that make you feel?
I guess they gave me the cash already. Sales already happened.
Well,
If you
that's
had
what that's what happens on eBay. You're already paid for it. They refund you because somebody else offered them more.
That's true. Definitely
Although,
true.
in the scenario, since we've gone down the eBay rabbit hole, the scenario where it's an auction and people are bidding on it and then they pull it for somebody's offer, I think that's a little bit different. I don't like that, but it's a little bit different because nobody's actually actually executed the transaction yet. You know what I mean?
It says it's community when dealing with meaningless ticket. There is no community when dealing with high-end tickets. You would stampede over each other to get our hands on a rare ticket.
Yeah. A little bit of projecting there, I think.
Well, people love things that they can get for a deal. And if it's super high end and you can get a deal, that's probably some truth where people are willing to be on the margins for their, I guess, ethical, how they feel and act. But I guess that's just how things are.
Yeah,
Justin said that's total bullshit.
What's total bullshit? I think Justin could just say that at pretty much any point in the show, and it wouldn't be that inaccurate.
Oh, by the way, I did buy something in that Heritage auction, so we'll when I get it, I'll show you.
Nice.
So I'll show you that PSA 6 Jordan when I get it. So just be ready.
Yeah, you must be disappointed because I know you were eyeing those.
Yeah, in the past I probably should have went harder on some, but on 1A the auction ended and I didn't realize it a while back. But I was also gonna think like, man, I don't know how much our show in the top 100 has affected. I've heard from multiple people that, we watched this. Oh, I want to collect the top 20. I'm like, man, we just basically jack the prices up on all the stuff we want to buy, Shaun. Like maybe we should just shut it down 2 years ago and bought everything and then started our show.
And then did that.
Yeah. No, I don't know how much sway, but I have talked to multiple collectors and high-end stuff that referenced the top 20 tickets, or I want to buy the top, and I watch your show and blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, oh man, you guys, we just feeding you guys all the info. Now you're outbidding us on things we really want.
Yeah, well, it was always that risk.
Did you have any things that you picked up lately?
I did get an order back from Beckett that I kind of wanted to go.
Beckett,
Beckett,
really?
Have you submitted to Beckett at all recently?
Probably about 6 months ago. I probably got something back probably like 2 or 3 months ago.
So like 3 months ago, they had a sale where it was 25% off. And I thought that this is a good opportunity to get some tickets slabbed that don't have a lot of value or any value, but I want them slabbed. So, 25% off equals about $22 a ticket. Mm-hmm. Compared to $40 with PSA, it just made some sense. And so it was kind of a test run to see how they would do and how long it would take and how accurate they would be, the communication, all of that stuff. And so it took exactly 3 months to get them back, which is the equivalent of 60 business days. I think that the last PSA order I had was about that with the low tier. So 60 business days, they advertised 45 business days. So it was a little more than that. and as far as I think I had 19 tickets, and so I would grade the entire experience probably like a C plus, B minus. As far as the time goes, the cost was great. Obviously, that was an A because it was $22 a slab, so that was less than you can get them anywhere done. The accuracy, as far as I wanted to see, a lot of people talk about how Beckett will put whatever you want on the slab, right?
Mhm.
You've heard that. And I wanted to sort of test that, see how far they would go. And by doing that, I kind of sent in some tickets that had a little bit of a story behind them, and I wanted to see how much of that story they would put on them,
Right.
on the slab. And so some examples I'll show you. This is let's see. I'll give some good ones first that actually turned out well. This is a game where the fans, the Dodgers game in 1995, that was forfeited because the fans threw souvenir balls on the field. So that
I
turned out really
remember
well.
that.
Not an expensive. None of these are expensive tickets, but they're just kind of cool for reasons
Right.
that random. This is one where Jim Rice actually went into the stands and went after a fan that stole his hat. and and it was at Yankee Stadium, and Jim Rice was, kind of known as a little bit of a hothead at Yankee Stadium against the Yankees, and somebody stole his hat. And it's a really interesting video to watch on YouTube because all of a sudden they pan over and the entire team is running towards the stands to go after Jim Rice. Or, it looked like there was going to be a brawl in the stands with the team. And so they did a good job on that one. It turned out what I wanted it on there. And this was the game that's everyone kind of knows about, where Dodgers, Maddox versus Johnson, and they pulled both of them, and they were replaced by Kershaw and Scherzer. So like Hall of Famer versus Hall of Famer,
Wow.
and then both rookies. So those were some of the good ones. I think I had some other ones that were pretty accurate, but they didn't really need much of a story. And then on the other side of that, this was one where on April 3rd, the second game of the 2001 season with the Mariners, Ichiro went 0 for 4, I think, and it was the only game in his entire career where his batting average was below 300, his career batting average. And so I asked some variation of that, and I don't remember exactly how I worded it, but I wanted that referenced on the slab, and they did nothing. They've literally put nothing on there other than the score of the game.
Yeah, I wonder they just missed it or just slip up.
Maybe it wasn't accurate what I asked for, and they just decided to put nothing on there. But that's disappointing because I wouldn't have gotten this slab if this was
Right.
A's 5, Mariners 1. Like, what's the point? So they could have at least put Ichiro's second game of his career. Like, that's kind of a no-brainer. But there was, so this one this one is a game where Joe Torre hit into 4 double plays in one game, which tied a
game right there.
But what's really remarkable about this game is that Felix Milan was batting ahead of him, and he went 4 for 4 with 4 singles. And so Joe Torre hit into a double play, which erased Milan 4 times in one game. And so I wanted that referenced, but they put Felix Milan went 4 for 4, and then they put Joe Torre tied a major league record for double plays. Not
right. That's kind of tough.
Yeah, it is. It is. And again, this was kind of a test to see what they would put, how much work they would put into it, and yeah. So I was hoping for something a little bit better than that, but the story's still there. So this one is the Mariners' second game of their franchise, and they got shut out by the Angels, and it was the second straight shutout. So this was where I really wanted to test how far they would go, because the Mariners broadcaster, Dave Niehaus, he always told the story about how after this game, after they got shut out for the second game, he wondered if the Mariners would ever score a run in their franchise. And he would always tell that story whenever he talked about his early days with the Mariners. And so I found an article where he referenced that story. It was an interview with him, and I sent the article in with Beckett, and I asked them to put something like that on the slab, and they didn't do it. So,
man, they're getting strict.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me because it is a little bit of a stretch, and I know that if Matt with PSA was watching this, he would be like rolling his eyes because that's so ridiculous. But I wanted to see if they would, because everybody says, "Oh, Beckett will put whatever he wants." And apparently, it's not true because they didn't there. And so yeah, they do have standards, I guess, which is good. Here's another one. This is a full ticket to the first game for the Oakland A's in 1988, and Jose Canseco hit his first home run and first stolen base in his 40-40 season. But it was also the first time that the Bash brothers, the forearm bash, they did the forearm bash, and they put that on there. That Canseco McGuire did the forearm bash, but they didn't say that it was the first game that they'd done that. So maybe they couldn't find that to confirm it or whatever, but they referenced it. So I don't know. I think that's about it. I had some other ones, but they weren't problems. This is a cool one. Tommy John had 3 errors in 1 play. Imagine
That's
that.
impressive.
Yeah. Tommy John getting 3 errors in 1 inning.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the bobble and the throw, but what's the third one?
I think maybe there was another throwback that he was covering the base or something and bobbled it. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch the video, but yeah, I think that's all I had with the Beckett order. So, the overall, yeah, B+ or maybe B-, C+.
I've had more than one person tell me they like they'd rather have the Beckett version for a ticket, because if it's a long story, and sometimes they just like the look. Like I sold one of those Curry finals debuts, and the guy was like, "Oh man, I really like how the gold looks with the ticket." And one of the home record-setting college games, the guy's like, "Oh, I love the Beckett version because it tells all the stats in the story, which PSA doesn't." And I think non-hardcore ticket guys that are just looking for something cool that's not too expensive, kind of like the Beckett version if it does have a long story to it that can explain it all.
Yeah, I think it's a personal taste. I personally like the slabs. I think that they feel really solid, and I don't think I would send anything high end over there, but if they have the right value, and I have a stack of tickets that I want slabbed, but that can't justify the $40 that PSA charges, then yeah, I would send another order in.
Yeah, like this Beckett one, kind of a similar one. This was the Sam Weish, and it says, Sam Weish blurts out, "You don't live in Cleveland, you live in Cincinnati," on the PA microphone. And I bet, PSA couldn't have got on that, but for that ticket, it's perfect because it tells you exactly, what happened, and you don't have to amend it and say Sam Weish on the microphone.
Yeah.
Blurts something, you get it all. You get the whole thing, so people know exactly. Oh yeah, that's the game. That's what he said. Oh man, that's so great.
Yeah. So I think that those are the two kind of market advantages that Beckett has: the price, the lower price, and the ability to put more on the flip. But they need to do it. They need to do it. They need to do it accurately. And like, I know that Matt will make every effort to put what you want on the slab as long as it's accurate and it can fit. And I don't know, based on this experience alone, and this is only one time, I don't know that Beckett is doing that. So it seemed kind of lazy what they did in this one.
Yeah.
So,
do you have any other pickups?
Just this one. I talked about this last time the show, but here's my Derek Jeter debut.
Oh wait, where'd you get that?
This was on eBay maybe a month ago or so, before the national.
Oh,
But
wow. Okay.
yeah,
Was it auction or best offer?
it was an auction, straight auction, and I overpaid for it because I needed it. But that is my 80th Major League Baseball Hall of Fame debut.
I forgot about this one. The Yogi Berra debut that went for over 20K. What was your thoughts on that
Yeah,
one?
it went for almost 30, didn't it? It was
Or
like
30. I
28.
can't remember what auction that just popped in my head. And I was like, oh, that's a Shaun. I assume you
Yeah.
needed that one, right?
Yeah, that kind of reset my ideas of what vintage debuts are valued at, because until that one, everyone kind of knew that an Aaron debut and a Mantle debut are going to go for a premium, but
Right.
beyond that, you don't really see the same premium for the vintage debuts. But yeah, that it's a good one because there's not very many of them. It's not an opening day, and that one was fully dated.
Isn't it is it not a 101?
No, I don't know. I have one.
Oh, you do? God, that's crazy it went for that number. I was shocked at that
Yeah.
number.
Yeah. I think that there's probably 4 or 5 in the pop report, and there's a few that I'm aware of. But yeah, tough one. Definitely a tough one. So
do you see if these big card guys or vintage guys are getting in? I mean, do you feel like it's strictly baseball and iconic players? So are we talking like, the Aaron, Ruth, Mantle, all that, and then
yeah,
Jordan, I guess
I
LeBron,
I
Will,
think that it's just the big flashy ones that are both rare and desired. So it could be Jordan, it could
right?
be LeBron, but I don't know
Yeah,
LeBron.
there's a lot of
It's just
LeBrons.
they're not rare.
No,
None of them are. So talk about vintage and talk about goats. You know,
right,
Mantle,
right.
Aaron, those things.
Well, I picked up pretty excited about both of these. I think I showed this one last show. This was the greatest game ever played. I'm pretty sure I showed this one. It was a full taped.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to see with the lighting. Let me see. But yeah, I think I showed that one already. I found this on eBay. I snap bought it. It was a best offer. And this was the Robin Ventura Nolan fight.
Oh, nice.
Love that ticket.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, maybe should I get this signed? No, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it.
Can you get it signed by both?
I don't think Ventura signs that. I've heard that rumor. I don't know if that's true that he won't sign that ticket. And I've never seen really a signing for him. I haven't really looked.
Yeah.
Was super excited about this one. This was the Jim Valvano speech. The cancer, don't give up, don't ever give up. I think there's only 2 of these. I bought this on Golden a while back and I got it like a month ago. It got shipped back and they had to ship it again. But I love that game. I love the story. I love the documentary. I'm not a big box office guy, but it is what it is. And it's a really clean full. It kind of looks kind of cool for a box office. So I was super excited to get that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. What's the pop on that? Do you know?
I think it's only 2.
Wow.
I think it's pop 2.
Yeah.
It was in a little theater. I think it held like 2,500 people, 3,500-ish, something like that. I might be wrong about the pop, but I know it's really low. But Justin did say Ventura never signs. And I would take his word for it. Well, did you have anything else? I feel like we've had a pretty full hour.
Yeah, it's a good show. I think that's it for me.
Well, right. I don't have any big vacations coming up. Hopefully we get another one in soon. I am going to the Notre Dame A&M game the weekend of the 11th up in South Bend. My extended family is all from there, and I went to A&M, so I felt like I almost had to go to the game, and it's a night game, big game, so I'm kind of fired up about that. It should be fun.
Cool. When is that? That's
like Saturday of the 12th or 13th, Saturday night.
Cool.
But other than that, I don't have any big out of town plans anymore. But well, I guess that's all I got. Appreciate everybody watching. we'll see what happens in the next couple months. Could get very interesting.
Indeed.
All right. Thanks for watching us. Follow us on YouTube and have a good night.